Hello, and welcome to market mining. Market mining is a tool to quickly estimate the market opportunity of a startup or business. Let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is create an account. Since I've already done that, I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. On the projects page, you can have multiple projects, but we're just going to start with this tool here, market mining. So I'm going to create a new project, call it market mining. The description is optional. We'll do it rapidly evaluate the total accessible market, and we'll create a project. So first thing we have to do is describe our business. This is made to be as easy as possible. So I already have a pitch deck that I've given to investors, so I'm just going to load that. While this is running, I'm going to talk through what it's doing. So the pitch deck is able to be visual or text, so it's a rather advanced parser. But if you don't have a pitch deck yet, maybe you already have a website and we're trying to craft a pitch deck, you can just put the website URL in. Likewise, there's also a place where you can just put in notes. I'm going to go back here real quick. So this is where the PDF was uploaded. You can put in a website if that's what you have instead, or if you just have a lot of notes, you can put those there. Either way, it's going to automatically extract two things: a business model for your business, the customer segments for your business, and the business model. So in this case, we're looking at potentially tech startups, in terms of people that have pitch decks, accelerators or incubators. Maybe this is a value-added service to help them size their market, due diligence agencies, so this is for investors. Let's just go with tech startups. We can pick multiple, but I'm going to keep it simple for now. And then business model. So is this a subscription-based business? Is this a custom market report? Is this a strategic partnership? Because this is kind of a one and done, let's just say it's a market report. And again, you can select multiple if you'd like. And then we're going to compute the metrics. Note that these were all automatically extracted from the pitch deck. So it looked at what this business is, and it said, okay, who could the potential customers be, and what are potential business models that might apply to this business. This information is not directly in that pitch deck. That pitch deck is mostly just describing this idea. So the next thing that it's going to do is take the specific business model and those customers and extract what are the numbers that we need to know in order to evaluate that. So this is a bottoms-up market sizing report. So for the customer groups, it's how many incubated tech startups are there, how many female-led startups, early stage technology startups, Series A funded, sure, all of that. And then for the business models, again, it was report-based, so what's the subscription fee to have the opportunity for the report? What's a customer report cost? Is there any affiliate revenue, direct website sales, incubator collaboration? So there's quite a few different things that we could try to estimate. So I'm going to try to keep this simple. I'm going to say, okay, let's say there's a subscription fee to sign up for the service, and then every report has marginal value, so I'm just going to delete those metrics there. And then on the top side, I'm going to say, let's keep this a little simple. Series A is probably a little bit too late. Early stage tech and incubated, I think the rest of these are probably good. So these are the metrics that we actually want. So if we know the number of founders and we know how much we can charge them with our business model, then we can come up with a pretty good estimate for the market size. So next I'm going to actually conduct the research by clicking this button. So this is actually going to do some rather sophisticated AI-based research in order to try to come up with an estimate for this value. So how many incubated tech startups are there? All of this can run parallel, so I'm just going to click all these buttons so we can get ourselves down to the specified number of minutes. And all of this is going to run in the background. So you can leave this page if you want and come back. It's all going to be done offline, and then once the results show up, then it's going to basically generate a research report here in the research findings, and then it's going to read through that research report and then extract the actual numbers that we're going to use for our estimates. All of this is built around this idea of uncertainty, so we're not trying to come up with one number for what the total market is, because that's not really practical. What we're trying to do is come up with a bound. So what are all of our estimates? And then we're going to combine all of those estimates together and do a simulation in order to figure out what is the actual total market look like, and what are the probabilities of it being every size, which will make sense in a minute. Okay, so everything's done. So the research took probably 3 to 5 minutes maybe for all of these. Let me show you what it came back with. So for every single one of these metrics, we now have a research report with citations in it. So how many incubated tech startups are there? So these are the research findings. And here are the sources that we have for reference. And then within that, it asks what is the lower and upper bound based on these sources, and specifically where'd that information come from. So research text concludes the global population of startups, 45 to 75,000, estimates supported by global population of that in the report. So in early stage technology startups, same 22 to 68, business model metrics. So this one's kind of interesting because I didn't give it much input on this. So what's the subscription fee monthly per customer? 25 to 200, that's probably reasonable. Customer report annual per customer. So the marginal customer reports being 500 to 5,000 probably seems a little high to me. And I could look at the research, but honestly, I think I'm just going to lower this down and say that the research reports is an order of magnitude less, so 500 to, or 50 to 500, save that. So now we have all of these values, we have all of this research. Let's go ahead and simulate the results. So we move to the simulation page and run the simulation. So when we do that, it's going to tell us, so this is, again, the total market opportunity in terms of assuming that that is the correct number of startups and assuming that they will pay those amounts that are in the reports. It's saying that the mean is $200 million opportunity. So if a venture capitalist is looking for, a $100 million opportunity, this is something that may fit that, assuming those assumptions are correct. It's pretty close, a little over 100 million is coming from incubated tech startups, and then less than half, 90,000, sorry, $80 million is coming from early stage technology startups. Looking at the customer groups, we can actually look at, how is this distributed for these assumptions, multiplying it through how much revenue does that represent. So, it could be $300 million, but it's a very low probability out here. Finally, let's move on to the report. So the final report is just like, what does the single slide look like of the final answer? So here's the total annual revenue distribution. The mean is $185 million, and then how is that broken up? So this is your one pager that you put into the PowerPoint that the investors are asking for. Or if you are an investor and you have, one PowerPoint that's just the market opportunity for every single one of the business, you'd have, one slide per business, and here's the market, and you can flip through and see what those assumptions are. If you want to get more detail, there's an extensive report here that's, you can export it to a PDF, but this thing is going to cover all of the research and all of the simulations in order to know what are all of the assumptions and what is all of the research that backs this, in addition to links to pages to double check that you agree with the work. So that's how this thing works. So this is our, probably 10 minutes to get to the market opportunity here, and making all of our assumptions explicit. Here's the market report. Looks like it's about 30 pages long. Includes the research, includes the distributions, etc. And so that's the exciting part. So how can we quickly get to a number that we can then debate? Now, this is meant to be a collaborative tool. So if we go back to the projects, we have this project here. Go to settings, we can make it so we can actually collaborate this project with somebody else. So and let's say I want somebody to be able to see my research, but I don't actually want them to be able to edit it. I also have the ability to edit it. I can do that. Let's sign in as the person that's viewing the report or has viewing access. So nothing in my projects, but I do have a report that's shared with me that I can open. And if I go here, and I can actually see this report, right? But I can't actually modify the metrics or anything. So everything's grayed out because this is read-only. So this is one way to do the collaboration. The other is the editing. But let me sign into the other one. So going back here, the other thing that we can do is if we don't like these numbers or if we want to collaborate, we can just keep adding more research. So instead of conducting the AI-generated research, if we actually have specific numbers, we can just add that here. We can just paste in whatever we need. And then it will, extract from that, estimate those values. And so this is what we did is the fastest way you can get to a number, and then you can go in and refine that number and refine your assumptions. The other thing, going back to these projects that we can do in the settings, is we can also make this a public access. So if we want to anonymously share this with somebody, so let's say we want to let an investor look at our startup, for example, we can just turn this on, which will then make it available to the web. But you have to know what this link is to be able to find it. And then at that point, somebody can go in and play around with it, read the report, run the simulation themselves, but they can't change any of the data. So that's another collaboration feature. So that's it. So what we covered here is, how do we quickly go from a pitch deck or a website URL to a market estimate? And then how do we turn that into a collaborative project and be able to use that as the starting point and refine from there? So looking forward to any feedback you have or any questions. Thank you very much.